All right. I'd like to call to order March 16, 2026 City Council meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. If you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, go back to Counselor Holmes is online. Counselor Ryuta is out ill. Everybody else is present, including our student rep Tyler. Looking at the agenda tonight, I'm looking to change a few things. Making 4 be a level of service work session discussion, continue with that. And then, so then 4 becomes 5, 5 becomes 6. And then on 7, I would like to just discuss, looking ahead at the next agenda. We have really nothing on it, so I want to talk about canceling April 6th council meeting discussion there. And then calendar 8, updates 9, executive session 10, open session 11. I'm looking for an approval of agenda as amended.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Counselor Haugen, motion to approve as amended, second by Counselor Santiago. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public comments, do we have any? I noticed on yours you had secondary things, so is that for this part of the meeting? Okay. Okay, so we have place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to council regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. Please try to not repeat questions to allow more speakers. Speakers are to limit their testimony to 5 minutes. We're limited to 30 minutes total for public comment. We'll start with Ms. Higas, if you're ready.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Transparency is especially important as the city discusses its financial future. At the March 7th, 2026 annual town meeting, the community heard the State of the City presentation and discussion regarding city finances, infrastructure needs, and the city is seeking community support for a general fund fee. That meeting was presented as an opportunity to provide residents with a clear picture of the city's financial situation and future priorities. During that presentation, several grants that had either been awarded or applied for were discussed. However, the police department's application for a Flock automated license plate reader grant was not mentioned. Considering that the meeting focused on city finances and future planning, this would have been an appropriate opportunity to inform residents and receive meaningful community feedback regarding the use of this technology. If the city is considering implementation of Flock cameras, the public deserves to understand the long-term costs, policies, and safeguards prior to any decision being made. As the city is seeking support for additional fees, it is also important that the public clearly understands how financial priorities are being evaluated. In previous public comments, I raised concerns regarding city spending. Those concerns were responded to by referencing the city's overall fund balance. However, fund balance and annual operating balance are not the same, and it is important for the public to understand the distinction when discussing new or increased fees. The current meeting packet also notes that reserves are being used to cover certain expenses. This further highlights the importance of clearly communicating how ongoing costs and new programs will be funded. That broader discussion of financial priorities also includes leadership compensation and accountability. Chief Llewellyn's salary increased as he moved from lieutenant to acting chief in July 2024 and then to chief in December 2024. While promotions typically include salary adjustments, it is reasonable for the community to understand how leadership compensation decisions are evaluated in relation to experience, performance, and accountability, particularly during a time when the city is seeking support for additional fees. Before asking residents to support additional fees, it would also be helpful to understand whether the city has evaluated opportunities to reduce spending or strengthen enforcement of existing ordinances, such as speeding in school zones or code compliance. Since raising this issue publicly, several residents have expressed concern regarding privacy, data security, and how automated license plate reader systems would be used in our community. This reinforces the importance of a transparent public discussion prior to moving forward. These concerns are not raised to criticize individuals, but to ensure transparency and maintain public trust when decisions affect both the city's finances and the community's privacy. For the sake of the public record, will the council commit to a public discussion of the Flock camera grant and its long-term costs before moving forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Question I do have for you, Chief, have we been awarded or not awarded the Flock camera grant at this time? Do we know anything about it?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and also people here in the audience. No, at this time, no. I checked probably roughly about 2 weeks ago, approximately with the Homeland Security Manager. There was no warrant yet at this time.
Okay. And hopefully a couple other things will be addressed in our level of service discussion. We will continue talking about cutting expenses or raising some of those other things. So hopefully some of those will be addressed tonight throughout the meeting. Thank you. Let's go on to next on our agenda. We do have William Etter, if you'd like to come on down and. Good evening, everyone.
An outcome of the,
Keep
Oh,
speak
yeah,
to the
we have- so
microphone
they can hear you.
and for the record too.
I need to stand. An outcome of the state of the city process, the meetings and whatnot, was something about nuisance ordinance and nuisance abatement and whatnot. And so I took that opportunity to participate in that process. But what my wife and I have been going through for the last 15 years is something that's been festering and festering with the house next door. You've all read about it in my email. Chief is very much aware of it with my nuisance ordinance complaints. So the house at 33012 JP West Road is next door to me. I live at 32976 Southwest JP West Road. My wife and I, Terry Etter. For 15 years, this place has been overgrown and unattended to by the previous occupant. And in the last 2 years, when it sold, it became far more involved as far as ignoring the procedures of what the rest of the community is supposed to abide by when they do remodeling and upkeep. And what we have is a scofflaw as a person who is contemptuous, a contemptuous violator who flouts a law or an ordinance. I haven't heard this word more than once or twice in my entire life, but a scofflaw is basically a noun as opposed to an outlaw. An outlaw is typically one who knowingly has broke the law, remains at large, and is yet to be charged, or upon being charged becomes a fugitive to avoid the legal consequences for their actions. So in my comparison, we have a term that describes people who are mischievous. We call them miscreants. And then we have scofflaws. And then we have outlaws. Well, the scofflaws are typical violators of minor court orders, paying taxes, alimony, speeding tickets, parking tickets, and of course, abiding by building code regulations and labor regulations, safety regulations, etc. Oh yes, one more, paying taxes. I believe that a property and a business owner have an obligation to be as compliant and proactive in their affairs as possible, to avoid becoming a burden on the community. That's what advanced society is supposed to achieve in due time. Mr. Mayor, in my email, I was critical of your leadership because ultimately, as the elected official in charge of the affairs of the city, and you are the flagship leader, so to speak. Nothing personal, but the leadership has to keep track of what is going on. And delegation, absolutely important, but when the job doesn't get done, then the next higher level has got to roll up their sleeves and figure out what needs to be done. So a review of the 3 C's that my recent research has yielded. The 3 C's of accountability would be appropriate for improving the enforcement of the City of Scappoose nuisance abatement ordinances. And the 3 C's can be categorized, summarized as follows. Get clarity. Know and learn what to do first. And even before that, identify what the problems are. And that's what the complaint forms are for. The second C is get started. Know, learn what to do next. The third is get some stuff done. Know and what to do more of. And I've attached copies of some things that I found interesting and hopefully will shed light on the process of leadership. I've been updated by the chief through a text or email about some of the process that has been ongoing and some of the remedies that are in process. I appreciate the contacts, but as a citizen, I don't need to know the progress of what's going on. What I need to know is what I see. And what I see should be improvement, because the things that I've talked about over the years, other than growing grass too high and shrubs and a building that's falling down that everybody on the hill knows about and looks at me like, hey, what's that next door to you? Let me tell you the story. There are still code violations. You've got scaffolding up. And in fact, at the annual meeting there, I had a quick discussion with the chief. And I told him about a group of 4 or 5 boys walking up the street here about a month and a half ago. Teenage boys having fun. I was in my driveway sweeping up or something. But I heard their conversation. Oh yeah, that's that house over there, that vacant abandoned house. And I suddenly realized, well, there's a lot of problems with trespassing and curious youth. And I told him about this. And I said, it's only a matter of time if somebody figures out to break in and have a party and maybe set the place on fire. These things happen. I don't want them to happen. But it's all unfolding since the day I started reporting what was going on and underlining the codes specifically so that an 8th grader could follow them. The ordinances are not difficult to understand, and the consequences are not difficult to understand if you don't abide by them. And so I ask, why the backlog in dealing with this landowner for so long? Because no one would tolerate that from me. Anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to pass along my comments. If you would like to talk to me at this time, ask questions, throw darts, I'm here.
Well, Bill, typically in this public comment session, we do not ask. We don't typically talk. We have a lot of business to cover.
I understand, but
We
I thought
do
I'd make
have-
the offer.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We do have in our level of service, we did bring up nuisance abatement and stuff, and so I'm sure we will talk about it in about a half hour. And when we get back to that session, we'll have a little bit of talk in there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to the next. Consent agenda, no more public comments. So tonight's consent agenda consists of February 17, 2026 City Council meeting minutes. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Council Santiago makes a motion to approve. Any second?
Second.
Second by Council President Miller. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign, motion carries. Okay, moving on to our fun stuff. If I were mayor contest, we have one out there. If you were mayor, so you have to come to these meetings and listen to all these people and fix all the problems. So maybe you don't want to enter, but, okay. So today, we do have a couple applications. You guys have had a chance to see them. I just wanted to, before I bring them up, if you guys have any questions, yeah, I'll quickly go over. We have two that I'm looking at that I wanted us to look at. Grade 4-5 is a poster category. Parker Rodriguez has submitted a really nice poster explaining what she would do if she was mayor. And a lot of those things are exactly what I'm trying to do: traffic, fundraising, community, the environment, schools, and fun. Those are all the things we try to focus on. So it's a great poster. And then is Chenda here today? I don't think. We have a great essay about if I were mayor, what she could do. Great stuff there. So typically it's in a contest and I have two great applicants here. So I'm kind of looking for a motion to accept these as our winners for the one for the 4-5 category and the other for the 6-8 essay category.
Mayor, move to nominate or call the winners of the, if you were mayor.
Councilor Santiago makes a motion to accept these as our winners for if I were mayor contest. Any second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Haugen. Any more discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Great. So I would really appreciate, I mean, all of you people should take a look at these, read these over when you have time. They're in our packet out there, but I do want to present this to Parker tonight since she's here. Come on down. Get a gift certificate for Fred Myers. And you get a participation certificate and an invitation to have lunch with me and probably my wife Stacy. I would think you might rather have lunch. And we'll get a picture. Thank you very much. And I'll get this to Chenda. Thanks again for participating.
Thank you.
Okay, on to number 3, Columbia 911 Communication District presentation. Yeah, is it Jeff Hypes? Jeremy. Where am I thinking Jeff? Jeremy Hypes from Columbia 911 Communications Director. Come on down.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Just to kind of give you some background, I'm Jeremy Hypes. I've been in the industry for going on 26 years. I've served anywhere from line level dispatcher on the phones to the radios, worked my way up through management and now into the executive director spot here in Columbia 911. I appreciate the opportunity. And when I took over this position, I understood that there was a couple of clear directives for me. One, transparency of our organization. 2, repair our aging radio system. And 3, bring our staffing back up to par. And those 3 things I'll talk on real quick before I kind of read through what I was planning on. But staffing, we are now 2.5 positions away from full staffing, the closest we've ever been in 20 years. Now we do have 2 trainees currently, and we're getting ready to start a couple more within the next 30 days. The radio system, that's a work in progress. We did finally get, I'm supposed to be getting the report back from our vendor tomorrow morning on what those repairs suggestions are and a dollar amount that I can start looking at to share with my advisory committee and my board, so we can start making some improvements there. And then for the transparency, well, part of that transparency is me being here in front of all of you. I know the opposition to this levy talks a lot about the past, and I can't really speak to what's happened over the past few years. I've only been here 6 months. What I can tell you is that we are not doing what we need to do to be transparent with the voters and the citizens of this county, and we have some work to do. And I own that, and part of that is, again, part of this process, and standing here and answering your questions and taking whatever concerns or complaints that you may have and taking those back and working on those. So we've authorized a levy to be put forth on the May 19th election. This levy is the same levy that we have approved, or the citizens of this county have approved over since 1998, 5 times at 29 cents per 100,000 of assessed value per home. So for a $300,000 home, it's about $87 a year, or $7.25 a month. This is not an increased levy. This is the same that we've asked for before. Now, this is considered a new levy, as in 2024, we did not pass the last levy, but it is using the same rate that we were using the last 20 years before that. So that being said, when you call 911 in Columbia County, there's only one system that answers. There is no backup, and there is no plan B. If we do not renew this levy at the same rate that we've had for the last 25 years, I will lose 50% of my operating budget. We're not talking 5%, we're not talking 10%, we're talking 50%. Well, here's what it means in plain terms. We're looking at the potential for layoffs. We may lose dispatchers, definitely administrative staff, tech staff. The radio system that every police officer, firefighter, and paramedic depends on in this county will continue to break down more so than it already has. Those reserve funds that we have will run out, and eventually the consolidated district dissolves. Local control will be gone, and the costs go up for everyone. There is no federal funding that I can rely on to replace this. No neighboring county can absorb our call volume. If this levy fails, the system that answered over 85,000 calls last year, more than 20,000 of them emergencies, 97% answered in under 10 seconds. That system breaks down. It's not just the residents who will lose protection. It's every police officer, every firefighter, and every paramedic in this county relies on that system as well. I know there's been some concerns, and the opposition speaks to those. Just kind of want to, number one, talk about the understanding the trust issue. That's why I'm here. I came from Clatsop County. I managed a $5 million radio infrastructure improvements over 5 years, saved to the county in one purchase as much as $300,000 in equipment costs by leveraging a neighboring agency for the same equipment. We were able to save on 2 purchases and save us some money. I was brought in here to reform this district, increase transparency, and run it responsibly. Agencies across this county are supporting me in my role in trying to do this. The board itself has members with diverse views on spending, one of whom if you haven't heard from already, you will. And this means real oversight, real accountability, and no rubber stamps. And we have to answer for those difficult conversations. This is your system. Voters created this system in 1989. The citizens have renewed it 5 times. This isn't just some bureaucracy asking for a handout. This is a community service that Columbia County built, that Columbia County still controls, and that Columbia County depends on. Every city, every rural area in this county relies on the same dispatchers, that same radio network, and the same infrastructure. And it belongs to us, the citizens of the county. And for those that don't know, the way the infrastructure of the special district works is we have an advisory committee, which is made up of all the police chiefs and fire chiefs in the county, as well as some ad hoc organizations like Public Works, OSP, and some other organizations. Those individuals make advice to me on what to take to the board. And that's exactly what we'll do here in a couple, hopefully next week or the following week. I will have a radio spending plan in place that I can take to the advisory committee and ask for their support. If the advisory committee offers their support to me, I will immediately take it to my board. and I'll immediately start making changes to our radio system, changes that have been waiting way too long, and they need to be taken care of now. Now, our reserve funds that you will hear about, yes, we have a reserve fund, but those reserve funds are like you as homeowners. We keep savings account to fix those things that break. Unfortunately, with technology, they're not cheap fixes. If I lose a piece of radio equipment, I lose a tower site, we could be looking at millions of dollars of repairs, just depending on what it is that broke. So when you hear about our equipment fund and our reserves, we absolutely have that money there, but that money is slated for the repairs that we need to make. And I don't want to spend it lightly. I don't want to spend it on stuff that's not going to make a difference. And that's why it's taken me 6 months to start that project. All I ask is for you to answer yourself the question, is it time to reform 911 or is it time to defund 911? And at that point, that's what I have for you. I'm certainly willing to take any questions you might have. I can wait around till after as well. It's totally up to you guys at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure we have a couple questions. I have one or two.
Yeah.
When you say radio systems, that's tower communications, hardware, everything, the whole.
That is correct. So the radio system goes from the consoles of the dispatch center that we actually use to talk on, out to the tower sites, antennas, all the wiring on that. So yeah, it's the whole infrastructure of the radio system.
And like, I'm thinking like our reserves, not all of our reserves can be used on everything. Some can be for police, some are infrastructure. Are your reserves kind of set up that they can be used for anything that?
We have two separate reserve funds. One is really for the structure of the building and the stuff that goes along with the maintaining the site, the properties. And then we have one that's literally an equipment reserve fund that's slated for equipment reserves.
And when you said you lose 50% of the budget, it's because you have a permanent tax rate that's about the same.
We have a permanent tax rate of 25 cents, and then the levy is a 29-cent, correct? So the total would be, between the two, would be 54 cents.
And you said you're 2.5 away from training. What does it take for training? When you talk about they're in training, what kind of an employee are you guys hiring? Are they?
That's a great question. And that's changed significantly since when I started 26 years ago, just because the citizens have changed, the community's changed, the expectations of our service have changed. Nowadays, we're looking for people who are resilient, they're compassionate, they're emotionally grounded and able to help maintain that cool, calm professionalism while trying to, again, deal with those stuff behind the scenes and when they're off the phone. So with the process is quite literally, the hiring process can take up to 3 months generally, sometimes up to 6, just depending on how quickly we can get the responses back. So you apply, there's testing that's involved, which is a multitasking test, answering phones, and logical thinking. And then there's a psychological background and a background check. Once all those are completed, then an offer can be made and bring them on board. Then the training process can take, on average, about 6 months. If somebody is really fast, we could probably do it in 4, but we try not to speed them up if at all possible, because we don't want to find out later that we missed something that we should have taken care of in the training process.
Great, thanks for my questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilor Santiago?
Mr. Hobbs, I really appreciate your statement and that you recognize that there was an issue and that you recognize that transparency is key. It is for me. And so question is, and I wrote it down, but I'm guessing it's the radio system. What's your priority? Number one priority would be the radio system.
Number one priority is the radio system. That's because there is a lot at stake if a radio system fails.
And then the rate has been the same, but cost is obviously, inflation is going up. So why is it the same? I'm just.
Because we know it's a big ask of the community. We do know that the finances are tight and the board has always tried to stick to that 29 cents per 100,000. I can't really speak necessarily to before this one, but the 29 cents is what we've used, and we're trying to be more responsible with that dollar amount before we start trying to look at more. Me personally, I think we need to be more transparent and account for every one of those pennies with the citizens before we ask for more.
I agree. Also, I'm glad that you also mentioned that you're going back and getting the support of all the chiefs of all your organizations, because in our packet shows a I guess a level of or support letter, but it's not current, right?
Are
The
you
way
talking
it's-
about the police chiefs and fire chiefs? letter?
Yeah, because that one has the date of September 25, 5 of?
Yeah, that was right after I got hired. They got together and it took them a little while to provide the document, but they did all work on it as a group to provide the document. So it is a little outdated as of right now. You are correct.
It's outdated, but it's not, it's support. Is that related to the levy?
That is literally in support of me in trying to right my ship, not
Okay.
necessarily in support of the levy. correct?
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
It's just the way that it was that.
Yeah, sorry. It was just to try to bring home the fact that I've been supported as the new executive director to trying to right the ship and get it on the right path.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying.
you're welcome.
And the levy, the last one that did fail, it was 29 as well.
It was, sir.
No, it's very important. I mean, I don't know a lot of the history. I've only been mayor for 3.5 years and so I kind of come on board now, but I do know the importance of this. You know, Kim and I kind of came at the same time and safety and everything is very important to our community and our citizens, and at least in my mind. So I think it's very important. And I do like the reform and working together. I think Ben has worked with you guys lately and have had probably more communication in the last 6 months than maybe in the past.
I will highlight that the prior director was one of the major concerns I heard from all of our users was the prior director was not as apparent or as open to communication as I've set my standard for communication. So I owned that and immediately have been working on those relationships.
I'm sorry, you came with the gentleman. He didn't introduce himself.
Mark Pacheco, resident of St. Helens.
For the record.
Mark Pacheco, I'm a resident of St. Helens.
And a
Also a
board member.
board member, but I'm here as my own entity.
Thank you.
And I think we do have some comments people will want to make, so we want to hear those. But before, is there any other counselors that have put Marquis?
Curious, in the interest of transparency, do you have forward or public facing data for people? Like you've mentioned that you took 85,000 calls last year. Is that something?
I don't necessarily have it posted on our website, though that's one of the updates we're trying to do is get our website updated. There is some issues there. But I'm more than happy to supply you guys with that call volume if you'd like. We do supply it at least once a year to all the chiefs of police. If you'd like to see something more regularly, I'm more than happy to provide that to you guys.
Okay, thanks.
And the form that you're submitting now at the back of our program, does that come directly from calling 911? Or a lot of these reports?
Call staff.
Great
Call staff.
question, Mayor. I don't know if else can see the document, but I received those on the monthly basis for my department. And that's information generated for the computer aided dispatch system, our CAD system, with 90. But a lot of those are calls that come into the dispatch center, and then our officers respond to in numerous ways depending on what they are. Some are self-initiated incidents such as traffic stops, so that we as police department initiate ourselves, and it's recorded inside the CAD system.
And so I'm sure they have it like this for all the St. Helens, Rainier, I mean, everything kind of all
Correct,
lumped together.
correct.
If you were ever want to see like the whole county wide coverage. But
if
he
you
is
guys would like-
providing that now in our packet, these numbers straight from the CAD system.
I mean, if you guys want it more frequently, please just ask. We can provide it to you. If you want it quarterly or even the yearly report, we can provide it to the chief or to your city manager, and they can bring it to the council if you'd like. Just let us know what you'd like, and we can provide it for you.
I personally like what you're doing now with our city, and seeing what's coming through.
No problem. I'll explain more of that when my time
Yeah.
comes as well. Thank you.
Counselor Howard?
Oh, yeah, Jeremy, thanks for being there. This is an important discussion. And I'm glad you're taking the bull by the horns. But, most of us that have lived in the community have recognized there have been some issues that are of concern over the years. And so if we can get a handle on those, that would be terrific. My main question is, from what I understand, is that the majority of rural counties in the United States, the 911 operations run concurrently with the sheriff's department. And so we're in a special district. So my question is, what would be involved in merging 911 with the sheriff's department?
So you are correct. We are kind of an oddity. There's only 3 special district 911 centers in the state. There is a 4th one in North Marion County, but it's a special service district. So it's got the permanent tax rate of a special district, but it answers directly to the elected board of the county. So currently, as the entity is now, to create or move services to another organization, you would have to, one, the voters would have to vote to dissolve the current district. As it is a voting, we are elected, the board is created by the electors, the citizens. So you would have to dissolve the district by a vote. And to do that, then as far as transferring or moving organizations, I don't know the law on the off the top of my head about the ownership of the equipment. The ownership, I do believe, as it is citizen-owned technically, the citizens could transfer that stuff in a vote to another organization. But I would have to do some search on the ORS to know for sure. But I do believe the voters essentially, since they created it, can kind of do whatever they want, I should say. I guess I shouldn't necessarily use those terms. But so setting up another organization through another entity could take a year, 2 years. It's not something like you can just turn off the lights and hand it over. There would have to be the rehiring of the staff or the transfer of all the staff, the
Yeah, I'm
training.
thinking more on kind of a merger approach.
Yeah, a merger approach. If we have, say, I don't know the law off the top of my head, but a merger would potentially be, again, a dissolve it or a vote from the citizens to would have to approve the merger, is my understanding. So if there was another organization that was ready to take us in, or the district in as a whole, there would have to be a vote of the of whatever governing body is to accept that, and then the citizens would have to transfer the said organization to them. So as far as I'm concerned, without knowing the law off the top of my head, that it would have to be done by the voters on both sides of the merger.
But if the levy doesn't pass, you're going to be kind of faced with that.
So if the levy doesn't
Scenario.
pass, the options that I have at this time are A, the board would have to make a decision to do a merger, or B, we would have to charge some sort of service fees to the entities, which trying to disperse that out would be based off the usage model. The higher users pay a larger amount of service fees. Which is currently, in my opinion, in this county is asking an awful lot of some of the communities. Certainly, as we've seen, there's a lot of communities right now that are struggling to figure out how to balance their budgets. But that would be the only real other option that I had besides trying to dissolve or merge into an organization. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So your user fees are the police and the fire departments?
Would have to be people that actually use our services. So that
Not-
would be police, fire, public works, public utilities, because they use us as well for their answering services. It really would be pretty much anybody who we take calls for would be how we'd service it. Yeah. And it's not a pretty picture, and I hate to dangle that out there but that is unfortunately what I'm looking at.
And then on yours too, Counselor Haugen, I'm not sure how the permanent rate would transfer if it's a 25 cents, if that transfers to the new entity, or if they'd have to fix their budget or go out for a new one. I don't know how that would all work.
Yeah.
Counselor Holmes?
Yeah, I also want to thank you for coming before council to introduce yourself and work on relationship building. I think that's really important, and appreciate your leading with transparency. And so as I understand it, some of the issues I think that became a challenge for the levy in the past really stemmed around the selection process for the radio communication system, and the fact that there perhaps was not a full RFP. Are you looking at kind of changing the process around evaluating the radio communication system and the selection process, or is the proposal to go forward with the previously selected radio communication technology?
Good question. So the position we're in right now is stabilizing what we have. I do think a full replacement is necessary in the near future, but I think right now we need to spend the money to stabilize it to make the best it can be, because of an RFP process, and the rest of that could take a year, and then purchasing and standing up the equipment still could be several years down the road. So we're at a position right now where I'm not willing to let the system hang out in the current state that it is while we make that process. So I'm trying to stabilize what we have now so that we can work together through a competitive RFP process to replace the system as a whole. And that process, honestly, I've spent most of my time trying to right the ship in the first 6 months I've been around to look at what that full process is going to look like. But And again, I am a firm believer in transparency and communication and open to the public for comment in that process as well. The citizens do own the system, so I think it's important for their voices to be heard.
And you mentioned something and I'm concerned because it sounds to me, you can be totally honest with us. Are you putting like a Band-Aid on something that's going to bleed out eventually? And
I wouldn't say it's a Band-Aid. So the system as it is, I'll know for sure when I see that report from my vendor tomorrow. But from what I understanding is our biggest concern right now is a lot of just aged equipment that needs to be updated to stabilize it. Once we get the stabilization done, that will be a big piece to looking towards that future. But I did recently apply for some congressionally designated spending to replace the larger, more expensive pieces of equipment on the backbone, which is the radios at each of those sites. It's very early in that process. I just turned in the application. I don't know if we are going to get that funding or not. I can't speak to that, but it is something that I've been looking at to try to offset some of those costs that we're looking at spending. I do believe that there is, and I know one of my board members has brought up some great ideas on some replacement opportunities and some options, as well as working with offering to work and help with that process. So I will say that we have a great trajectory to replace it, but again, that could be several years down the road. And right now I'm trying to make this system as best as I possibly can with what money I have available to me to make sure that I'm protecting our first responders in our community.
So if the voters do vote for the levy and you obviously you're trying to fix whatever you've been broken, are you going to come back in less than 5 years and ask for more?
That's not my plan. I don't want to. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the next few years looks like when it comes to this project until I see the document in front of me. I can tell you from what I'm being told that the wiring alone, just the wires in the background, are 30 years, 25 years they've been there, and they're degraded from the weather and everything else. Those are pretty cheap, easy fixes that I can get to off of what I have, but still I'm looking at 50% of my operating budget, so without the levy. So, I have some I will be able to spend, and I'm willing to spend as long as my board's willing to support in that spending process. We can get a lot accomplished in the radio system, I think, in the next 5 years. And I think we need to sit down as the advisory committee and the board and come up with a plan for replacement in the near future. But right now, I just got to get the best I can out of that equipment to get it as safe for the community.
Thank you.
And the money that you have in reserves and the money on this levy can be used towards wiring and some hardware and some.
Correct. Yeah, the equipment fund can be spent. The board, basically what I do is I take the proposal of the board, ask them to release the spending, the board votes on it to release that spending, and then we can go. So it's really getting those quotes, looking what that work looks like, kind of a timeline, time frame, what kind of equipment we're purchasing. I'll take it to my advisory committee, which the chiefs get to have their word and hear any concerns that they have, and then I'll take it to my board, and then we'll go from there.
Did we have some public comment that wanted to speak on behalf or just any information?
I'll give my presentation in public comment, and then I'm going to first ask the city manager, though, if he's willing to clarify some of the support letters or the support letter that's in question, and also the communication that I think has been attempted with the district or the supporters of the levy to clarify what that letter actually is, and then also the use of the city's logo. And there may be some other concerns as well.
Will we have any other public comment? I can do 5-minute public comment like we would do during normal public comment. Okay, we'll have a couple then.
Do you want to do public comment first before, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we could do, if there's anybody else who would like to do public comment on this agenda item,
Should I step back so they can have
just so they can have the microphone probably.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep everybody equal to their 5 minutes if.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Joe Kaczynski. I do live at 75126 Highway 202, Berkeley, Oregon. In your packet, you should also have a letter that I had written that is from the Columbia County Fire Defense Board. It's all the fire agencies that make up Columbia County. And I was just going to basically summarize what is written in there. So as Fire Defense Board Chief, I do represent the fire districts of Columbia County. I also speak on behalf of Ms. Birkenfeld, RFPD. Some of this stuff I'm going to say you've already heard from Director Hypes, but this is my letter. Since CECOM's inception, the fire districts of Columbia County have supported their operation and every levy they have taken to the voters. The operation of CECOM is imperative to the safety and efficiency of emergency responders. This operating fund levy is essentially not new taxes. It is to continue the funding level that was approved decades ago, needed to sustain emergency communications for the citizens of Columbia County. The costs of operations are not proportionate to the initial approved tax rate from CECOM's creation. If the funding is not restored, there will be reduced staffing, which can lead to delays in service to the public and a life safety risk for the users and a degradation of already aged out equipment. It will also lead to user fees. For the fire districts, just maintaining the level of service with tight budgets, which is all of us in the county, this will mean drastic cuts to those budgets, including layoffs of personnel, reducing the already short-staffed EMS and fire forces, leading to delays in emergency services. Yes, there are some issues with the communications district right now, but with the right leadership, which is in place, and some patience, those issues will be and are being rectified. To continue, to continue this positive direction, we need to reestablish the pre-existing operational levy. I believe the best way to make positive changes to an organization in need is by acting gently and methodically, researching and evaluating existing models to reach reasonable and justified methods of operation, and present a strategic plan with obtainable benchmarks and a realistic outcome, rather than abruptly dismantling the entire entity and trying to start over, which puts unjustified jeopardy on the citizens and first responders of Columbia County. If the levy fails, the framework of Columbia 911 Communications District will be greatly impacted. Now is the time to begin restructuring the composition of the district, and the passing of the levy is needed to make that happen. Additionally, the fire districts in Columbia County, along with our law enforcement partners and some other public agencies, comprise the 911 Advisory Board. This board was established under state statutes to give expertise, insight, suggestions, and desired direction to the CECOM Board of Directors. This advisory board is also in favor of the 911 levy coming out in May. These public service law and fire agencies, along with CECOM, are currently working on a plan to restructure the maintenance and management of our communication system. Our plan is dependent on the renewal of this funding. Without this funding, the outlook of our emergency services communication in this county is uncertain and bleak. The safety of our first responders and the public they serve will be seriously compromised if this levy is unsuccessful. It is imperative that additional funding be restored to our 911 system. And please reach out to me or any other fire chiefs in the county for further questions, answers, discussion.
I have a question. Are you here as an appointed official? You're here as the fire chief, correct?
I am basically appointed by the other fire chiefs in the county to act as the Fire Defense Board chief, voted in, and they grant me the privilege of representing them and speaking on their behalf.
Okay, but you're not a publicly elected official, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So the levy ballot title has been filed. So how are you advocating for politics, for a levy in uniform in your position as chief?
It's because it's not my levy. I'm not the one asking for the money.
It doesn't matter. Okay, thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Thanks.
Just a point of clarification, the use of public funds to, regardless of what agency that you're working for, is where the conflict comes in, as is against elections law. I will go next. So I sent to council, so I'm using this time as public comment. So I sent the rest of the council a presentation that I put together. And for, I think everybody here knows, but I am on the 911 board and I speak for myself and only for myself here. And I,
Miller, are you gonna come down as a
I can
resident?
if you think it's, okay.
We'll stop you for a second. Just keep it same for everybody.
Tyler, do the chiefs have a copy of that too?
I believe that they have seen it, but we can also get them a copy should they need it. This is a different view. All right, I'm just going to make this fast because I have provided this information in detail to council and others. For the record, Tyler Miller. I'll just go through the formalities. I am elected city councilor for the city of Scappoose and also a board member for the Columbia 911 Communications District representing Zone 5, which is a Scappoose area. The comments that I'm going to make tonight are my own. They don't represent any public entity's position or other board member, city council member, or anything like that. So I disagree that things are turning around within the 911 district. I think there's still a lot of transparency issues and I still can't get a lot of questions, or excuse me, a lot of answers to my questions. I'm going to summarize tonight by saying that the Columbia County Democrat Central Committee and the Columbia County Republican Central Committee have both voted to oppose this levy again. They both voted to oppose the levy in May of 2024 when the levy failed, and again in November 2024 when the levy failed then as well. Now, the 911 board was asked to vote on putting a ballot title forward to ask the taxpayers for this option levy. And to be clear, the 901 district gets a permanent rate that doesn't go away. They get that regardless, and they also have other funding revenues in addition to the option levy. The option levy is supplemental funding. And when you say that it provides 50% of your budget, you have to walk back and look at, okay, well, in your budget for how many years, what has been your budget? What have you been paying for? Have you been using those funds wisely and appropriately? Because just saying that your budget, or excuse me, that the levy is paid for 50% of your budget doesn't mean that you have spent those funds in a responsible manner. And it's inflated. The budget is inflated, in my opinion. Also, for years, the 901 district has operated with about 12 dispatchers as well. And so now all of a sudden they're trying to get to the 17 FTEs that they have been approved for years. So now it's all of a sudden a priority. The problem is that you look back at the call answer time, it's still like 3 or 4 seconds when the national average is like 20, or excuse me, that has to be answered within like 20 seconds. So also, where do you get to like a staffing analysis if these other positions are even needed if you're answering the calls that quickly? There's just a lot, and I'm not saying that they're not needed. I'm just saying that there's no data, there's no information to even support the staffing levels that currently exist or funded FTE positions. So I agree with one thing, and we shouldn't defund 911. We should reform 911. Of course, we need 911. The issue is are we doing 911 the way that it should be done in a small community? I resort to Councilor Haugen's comments earlier that 13 of the 911 centers in the state of Oregon out of the 40 are ran by the county and sheriff's office, with I believe it's 18 being ran by a city within those counties. The special district being its own entity is a very special situation, and you get into duplicative administrative costs when you do that that could otherwise be rolled back into the actual operations of a 911 center and operations. So if we were to consolidate 911 to an existing agency that has to exist no matter what, like the sheriff's office or county, and the sheriff has expressed interest that he wants to take it over because of the number of problems. But we could save hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million plus, by putting it under the sheriff's office or the county. That doesn't mean that the other agencies lose control. There could be an MOU and all those details could be worked out. I would encourage you to read through the presentation that I gave, especially all the waste that has occurred and all of the studies that have been done going back to 2012. And at that time, there was millions of dollars in the reserve fund to go and fix a radio system, because that's how long the public safety agencies have been complaining and that they need a better radio system. So they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants, and they had millions of dollars in reserves and did nothing. And then we had interim director Burright here having meetings with us, and we felt like we were going to get somewhere. Ben and Chief and I talked, and we thought that things were really going to change, and then nothing. And my understanding is that meetings keep getting canceled with the city. So I just don't have any confidence that anything's going to change this time. I voted not to support the levy at this time because for over 2 years, I've been saying you need to show change first. And there's money in reserves. There's over $3 million in reserves to sustain the 901 district while they show change. But they need to show us change first before they come and ask us for money again.
Thank you. Almost sounds like you've done that before.
I didn't know that I was going to summarize that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Any other questions? The one I did have, you're gonna get a report within the next day or two, you said. Regardless, are you able to, whatever you can make public to us, or at least to get to our city manager, just to kind of keep that transparency going as you get information?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm more than happy to come back and update you guys personally as well if you'd like, or I can get it through Ben, or I can put it through Chris as well, as he's considered on the advisory committee as well. So he will receive the documentation as part of the advisory committee. But I'm more than happy to provide it to you individually as well. if
Whatever
would
you
like.
guys can. I don't know if it would help a lot here, but it's good to just see
Yeah.
what is happening and where
And
we are.
again, answering to the transparency, I'm more than happy to come back as we go through this process and just do updates for you guys. I've offered it to every city council I've been in front of. I'm offering it to you as well. That's part of my job, is answering to the citizens, and you guys are a direct path to those citizens. So
Great.
Thank you.
And as we go, or usually twice a month, but we at least once a month lately, there is public comment that if anybody at 5 minutes and wants to come and speak during our public comment, that is available as well to everybody.
And I understand, I mean, it's not a secret that it's misuse of funds and, there's been controversy and I know that you're just walking into this.
Yeah.
And I can recognize that. So like anything, it seems like there's new leadership and new board, I think, Tyler
two new
was-
board members.
two
Yeah.
board members. I think even that, if with a small board, it does change the dynamics of a group. I mean, I know it does. I've seen it here as well. And so I think, if you can answer to the budget question, because I'm not very familiar. So what's your yearly budget? And what's your reserves?
So the reserves currently, in the equipment reserve, we have, actually just got an update today. We have about just a little over $3 million currently sitting in the equipment reserve fund. So basically, we have enough, trying to set aside some money for the communications project and the radios. Again, I don't know what that cost is going to look like, so I can't really speak to how much of that's going to be spent. But we did recently do a transfer from the equipment reserve fund into our general fund to make payroll and to pay some of our other current billing. And the price of, sorry, off the top of my head, I want to say it was $1.2 million is what we transferred over, and that is to get us through November. And should the levy fail, we'll have to do that again, and that will take about half of what I have in the equipment reserve fund left. So what we're running into is, as far as reducing the budget, I won't say that Tyler isn't correct. In some places we can still tighten down the straps and look at what that looks like. And that will definitely be part of the process before any other reductions are made within the organization. But as far as the equipment reserves, again, that money's being used to keep our district going around while we're coming up with our budget tightening. So I'm expecting those funds to dry up probably early next year in those equipment reserves, in which I'm trying to spend money on the equipment to start that process, hopefully here in the next 30 days or so. So if you'd like, I can come back and answer a little more to that after the fact with the equipment and how much we're spending and what that process is looking like in another 30 days or so. Be more than happy to do that.
I think it's important for all residents of Columbia County to know what's going on because they're the ones that are going to make that decision.
I agree.
We're not, so.
I have a question. So we have Day Wireless, who has been the provider for years and years and years. We know that they didn't do the preventive maintenance that we essentially paid them for years and years and years. They're now involved with this whole process and making recommendations as well. Why do you have confidence that all of a sudden they can change the way that they've operated for years and years and years and pretty much responsible, in my opinion, for the radio system going downhill? So why do we keep using them?
Well, as you and I have discussed before, there's only a couple of real options in town. There is Day Wireless and Communications Northwest of the other company. We both have recognized in our meetings that both of which have inherent issues with both. And as far as Day Wireless, as we do have the current contract with them for maintenance and upkeep, we had a very frank conversation in a meeting. They came to us with asking to fix some of those issues. Now, they do have a new manager at the local area shop. They do have 2 relatively new techs that, with me working with them in Clatsop County, I have a lot of respect for them and their professionalism. And they're the ones that did this current study that I'm waiting for the responses on. I've seen some draft work out of it, and I've had a conversation with them directly, and it is definitely a more robust report than Day Wireless has ever provided us before. And I'm hoping that I can share that with you and the rest of the board members in the advisory committee tomorrow, hopefully after I get that from them. Do I have the utmost confidence? I think they're making the steps in the right direction. And right now I'm willing to give them a chance because they've been involved and we have been using them. And they're the only ones right now with that documentation that, as we've discussed, we should have had in our hands for years. And there is a lot of it. As you pointed out, there's been lots of radio studies. I agree, there's been a lot of radio studies, several radio studies, but nothing that has been more recent than what I'm going to have in my hands tomorrow, to be honest with you. So, and, you know, reading through all that, I mean, I got boxes and boxes and boxes of paper. You spoke to it. There's a ton of paper that I'd have to go through, and I haven't had my hands on it for the last 20 years. And quite honestly, I think I would have to look at the date on the last study, but a lot's changed even since that last study was done as far as the degradation of the system. I will honestly say some of that ownership of that maintenance not getting done probably lies on the district because there wasn't a director that was holding them accountable. But I also will admit that, yes, they've had their shortfalls as well. And their area manager has been involved with me in weekly meetings, updates, making sure they're hitting their deliverables and getting what we expect out of them. I'm hoping what we see tomorrow, knock on wood, is what we've been asking for in the complete report, and that we can make some concerted efforts towards making some good updates on the system while sticking to a good budget and keeping account of every penny. And that's kind of my
That was
direction.
one of my questions, is if to build that trust back, are you able to keep them accountable? Are you guys in a better spot?
Absolutely. And matter in fact, we've already had the discussion about the contract before and the expectations. They've also, they're offering reduced services to the users as we're sorry for that, allowing them to do PMs at a reduced cost to have their radios checked and maintenance at the agency level. They've also been doing again, weekly meetings with their area manager, who says they've identified us as a primary agency for their representation because they know how long they've been involved in our system and the issues that we have. But they've also, the techs that I've been talking with have been very frank and open and honest in what they've been finding. And quite honestly, they're shocked at some of the stuff they're seeing because of the people that were doing it beforehand. So while trying to, obviously, as a company, try to save a little bit of face on their own, they are owning up to some of their shortcomings. And right now, it's the best option we have for moving forward as they've had their hands in our system for years. And I think right now, changing a company could slow down the process more. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is extremely frustrating for me because for years I've been saying the exact things that you are here now trying to be transparent about, but I was told I was wrong for years. So that's frustrating. And we wasted millions of taxpayer dollars with that whole mindset as well. So it has been.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And honestly, like I said, I can't necessarily speak to what came before me. All I can say is that I'm hoping that we're on the right path in the right direction now, and those changes we're trying to make. And
Well, since we're being transparent, they literally wrote a letter, Day Wireless literally wrote a letter to the board saying that all of the antenna systems and everything at the site were fine and signed it less than 2 years ago.
yeah, well, I'm guarantee the report we're going to see hopefully tomorrow will definitely say something different.
I just don't feel that's forgivable, but
I have
I
a
appreciate you
question.
being here.
You guys get audited and you're new. How often does the 911 get audited and? when's
We
the
are
last time?
yearly audited. It's a sample-based audit, so they take samples and they process the samples and show that your policies are proper. So it is done yearly. We did, I mean, for 20 some years, we had the same CFO in the position and she was really good at what she did. And we won a bunch of awards for those. But again, they're sample audits. So they take a sample, they look them over and they make a determination based on those samples. We are a couple of years behind just because of trying to find auditors and get the process, but we have last year's and the year before currently in process right now.
When you say samples, you're talking about like response times and all that. What kind of, I mean audited us financially.
Yeah, you hand them the budget. They basically
Okay.
go in there and look at it and they say, we want to see this, we want to see that. Will you send us this? Will you send us that? And they review those policies to go along with it to make sure the policies are being followed and that they follow within guidelines. But it's really done based on a select sample that they choose as an auditor.
Thank you. Yes, hopefully, I mean, this is a very important topic and a very important group, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're all starting to work in the right direction as one team. So hopefully we will iron out all the issues and
Yeah.
get this operated.
I appreciate the time to have an opportunity to speak to you guys. And like I said, I'd love to come back at any point and update you guys on where we're at as we move forward in the right direction. We do have a lot of work to do. And I know Tyler recognizes that and has brought it up. And I don't think it's a secret to any of our user agencies either that we got work to do.
And then, and after May 19th, we're gonna know how narrow the tunnel is. So.
Yeah. So again, I appreciate you guys. And if you have any other questions, please reach out and I'll be more than happy to answer.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, did you still have a question you want me to answer? We're good.
It's up to you.
No. Well, and you kind of alluded to it. Counselor Santiago had brought it up earlier. Part of the process we've been going through since the beginning, it's been interesting. Obviously, emotions have been escalated. It's a pretty important situation. And one thing that staff has been really trying to do is just make sure that we're following appropriate ethics and election laws. And so one of those is just making sure we spent a good amount of time. And there's been a lot of staff on all sides trying to figure out what those are, not quite understanding all those always. It's may or may not, but that's not where I'm at. We've just spent a good amount of time. So yeah, Councilor Santiago brought that up about the letter that was dated in September. It was not for the levy. And that was the point, I guess, that you were bringing up, that to keep alignment correct with this wasn't a letter for support for the levy, but obviously a support for Jeremy and his team in their pursuit to try to get things going forward. And you'd mentioned something about the logo. There was a notification to the city about not 911, but their PAC. I don't know what their
Friends of
911. But Jeremy helped us get that removed. As you noticed, it was used without our authorization. So we have spent time and really have tried as staff to make sure that we're not advocating for or against, but to stay within proper election laws. And there have been some concerns on some of those, probably from all sides, but we're working on that. And those are two of the most recent ones that have been brought up several times. We want to make sure that it clarified what those purposes were originally for, as opposed to maybe how they're being perceived or.
We're getting emails all the time as elected officials, all about, especially organ ethics, just making sure we're on top and we're learning all the new things, filing all our reports. I mean, it's overwhelming at times. Make sure we're doing the right thing. Great. Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit. Are we good to work on your level of service?
So I was gonna bring that up. So
Thank
with
you. Thank you
there
for your
being
service.
with there being a hard stop at 9 and with there being other things to talk about, I would suggest tabling the majority of this. The one thing I would ask for some feedback on, if you're able to give it to me, is whether or not to continue with the CEP grant program, because that typically goes out for noticing in March, and we have some people that are annual appliers and are just curious on if it's going to be available again this year. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing I'd appreciate some feedback on. And again, it can just be for a 2026 cycle. We'll discuss how the program looks going forward.
Can you just send us out an email, Gaten, so we will definitely respond to you, kind of any one or two questions you may have? Because, yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. Anything that can be done now before the budget cycle.
Yeah.
That we were looking, because I know we're starting to do budgets and we're talking about senior center.
Right.
If trying to get on any of our cuts, our thoughts on cutting those or adjusting those. And CEP is a big one because they're gonna start going out. We have time to adjust them this year, we feel.
When does it go out?
I mean, if you guys feel
Yeah.
that CP is one to look at, but it wouldn't be fair to do it right now because they're in a month. That's one thing, but if you think we have time, since we haven't put it out, haven't told anybody how much we have in the program,
No.
how much anybody can get.
And there are options too, right? Like there's some of the things that were brought up at the annual town meeting with only making it organizations that are based in Scappoose or reducing the total to 20,000 or something like that. Limiting it if you're a large organization with a large budget, you don't qualify. There are different kinds of things we can do, but we just, especially potentially canceling the April 6th meeting, it'd be good to know what the direction is on that for just this cycle.
Yeah, those are the good questions, like if we limit it to local based on people's budgets that are under $1 million, something to that effect. Senior center, I would like to know why it started, what was the purpose or kind of when? Like, was it a specific because of DOJ issues and trying to fix it?
I can give
And
color
it's
to
pretty
that
new.
if you want.
And then, yeah, like, oh, it was in perpetuity forever, or, what was the?
Yeah, so for the senior center, I mean, I'm not for giving them money any longer, and here's why. So we stepped in, we being council, and this goes back years and years. Was anybody on council? Joel, you were on council, right? So basically, they had their whole thing, we'll call it, with DOJ, because I don't remember the specifics, and bingo got suspended. Basically, their revenue source is bingo, so they had no way of funding their operations, taking care of their building, things like that. So basically, fast forwarding, what it came down to is they got the issue with DOJ resolved. They got their, I don't remember what it's called. It was some sort of the authorization to be able to start bingo back up. And we basically stepped in, and what I suggested was we give them money to hire an attorney to write their new bylaws, because that's your foundational document for your entire organization. And I didn't think that they could go forward in a productive way until they had a new set of professional bylaws that govern the whole organization. So we funded that. And then they, like I said, they got bingo started back up. So they have their revenue now. The city, the way that I understood it, was never intended to be their permanent funding source in any capacity whatsoever. Now that they have bingo, how often they do bingo and how they do bingo to bring money in is up to them. So I don't feel that we should be giving them any more money. In fact, I don't want to give any more money through CIP, because I don't think it's right for us to give money away, but yet go ask taxpayers or a city bill fee or anything like that if we're giving money away. It's not, the two things aren't compatible.
Yeah, in terms of guidance for CEP, I don't think you want to pull a rug out this year, but I would like to scale it back to the $20,000 range, and then on the guidelines that they have to be in the corporate community. And I think that covers the kind of the because historically about half of the applicants were outside of the community.
Counselor Holmes?
Yeah, or perhaps the compromise is that we just use the money, say 20,000, to help fund some city-sponsored events, right? Events like the fight lights and the movies in the park, things that widely benefit the residents of Scappoose.
So you could have a separate budget, 20,000 into the program or whatever, and then the other 20 set aside for people come to us and ask for some funds, maybe senior center, because we did help with an HVAC. They needed a new system at one time when they were hurting. And then, like you said, we paid for their fees. So if you had some in there that if they came and asked for some help, it would be in the budget. Sure. I agree though with both, with Joel is looking at maybe reducing the CEP and limiting it to what it's for. And then like if senior center does need something, they can apply in the CEP.
Yeah.
And they can, those are the ones that are kind of on the radar right now.
Are there any objections to moving forward with CEP this year at 20,000 and only city, like Scappoose based organizations, and then we can reevaluate it more going forward? Are there any objections to that?
Just to clarify for the record, so what we were doing was any sort of basic nexus to Scappoose. So if they were in St. Helens, but they were providing services to Scappoose residents, they qualified. So I just want to make sure that there's some context there about how we were.
Correct. Yes, that was the old way. As long as you were serving Scappoose residents in your work.
And there's some that will be, they're in Warren and they do services and Scappoose residents do take advantage.
And all of these things that we have given money to through that program are all very notable things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, but the problem is we have to take care of our funding first.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel comfortable going and asking taxpayers for more money and also be giving away money in any capacity.
I think it's transparency and a good start. Yeah, reducing it, putting some more stipulations on it, just so that that will limit a few people that qualify. So not as many will be out. And then we can look at it. Yeah, if you're millions of dollars and $2,000 is what you're asking for, and there's someone else we feel is maybe more needing that's local, that a lot of kids are taking advantage of. I guess we don't have to fund them all, fund the ones that we want.
I'm hearing a couple things. So if I could just get kind of straw poll from council on like, if we go more limited, the 20,000 route, or pause it for this year and then look at other options for a more permanent service level.
Are any of these organizations like really counting on that funding? I'm just wondering, because like Joel, I would be like slowly okay and then pulling away, reducing, pulling away, and then really limited to Scappoose residents being served by, Scappoose residents, the organizations that serve it.
Yeah, the ones I would say are counting on it are the super volunteer based organizations.
Yeah.
That's why I would not necessarily want to get rid of it in the first year. There's
Okay.
a few that might rely on it and it will soften the blow that we say, we're trying to make cuts. Citizens are paying for this. Be prepared in the future years, it may be gone.
Okay.
But that's just me. Are you okay with any of that, Kim?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I mean, if we looked back at the last 3 years of grant funding awards and then just narrowed that down to the pool that we're talking about, people operating in Scappoose, and directly benefiting the residents here, we could probably identify the 4 organizations that would, make that cut. And should we just look at those 4 organizations and take the $20,000 and distribute it amongst those organizations? So it's more of a select award rather than an application and grant award. Because I'll also say it is hard to say no, right? We've had, over a dozen applicants come before us and we wind up distributing funds, and some of them don't get the full grant award because they are doing good work, and it's hard to say no. So I just wonder if we'll be able to achieve the objective that we're talking about if we go with another grant cycle.
So those volunteer organizations that you're talking about, that we're concerned about, are they for sure in Scappoose?
One of
Well,
them,
the Watts, the Historical Society,
yeah.
the community club that did lights, movies in the park. Those would be the ones I'm
Library.
most,
Group that
and the
runs
library.
all the kids at Peterson School or at summertime
Yeah, the parent
program.
organization.
It's just ran by the few volunteers. I'm sure they get paid something, but they run kids all summer, just a local, it's right in Scappoose. Same with Grant Watt Parent Organization.
So if we know the ones that are priority, do we just come up with a solution that offers them the funding that they're counting on?
Or did 2,500 each if we vote, I mean, everybody gets the same. I know Imagination Destination, the books, Dolly Parton books, they're only asking for 1,500 usually, and it's local, but that's all they ask for. I don't know if there's a time to have a meeting or a discussion about it at a work session, or just let's get NJ all of our recommendations and you can come up with what he feels that we all think. Try it this first year.
What month do we usually do that in?
We normally, last year we sent it out March 7th and then we did the awards in May.
I mean, I can see the need to pull it back this year since we're already in this year and then kind of phase it out through this
Okay.
year, but still not give the full amount that we normally do, maybe half. Like,
If we do have, but this is in last year's budget, right? And,
This will reflect in next year's budget, because they don't actually get their awards until July.
mm,
So we,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be in
So-
favor of cutting it in half. Figuring out where to go.
I think that gives us a good stopgap. You know, we're not completely shutting it down, but we are putting people on notice, and being a little more selective, not necessarily in terms of what projects, because that's already baked into there, but what types of organizations, local and not super large with multi-million-dollar budgets.
You could have, like you said, our four highest vote getters get 5,000 each. That's it.
Could be.
Or 10 of them get 2,000 each, and that's it. Highest vote getters,
Right.
but local.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
that gives me what I need to work with for now, and then we'll revisit for the other items sometime in April.
But you look at this, really get back to them on what your recommendations or thoughts are as we move forward, especially if you were at the town meeting. Because I'm sure some of this will have to go in this year's budget.
Hmm.
Next year's budget. Okay. We'll start to move through these quicker. The team expectations, has everyone had a chance to look at?
Yeah, but we received this.
Yeah, there was the agreement, the old one was an agreement, and he crossed off everything that he's changed, and now it came out as an expectation. Yeah, the lined out one, kind of old one in our packet is kind of the new one based on everything. Does anybody have any opinions changing it? We added the civility pledge. I think, again, that's really directed at us, our team, I guess, council staff. But I think our whole team is Scappoose. So Scappoose whole community, we expect them to live up to that as well if we are.
I'm good with revision.
Yeah.
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 We have a motion to accept the revisions.
I'll make a motion. We accept the revised Scappoose City Council team expectations.
Councilor Marquis makes a motion to accept the 2026 team expectations. Any second? Second by Councilor Haugen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much for that. Good going forward. Also, on that level of service one, I really want to hear from Ryuta too, and without him here, it'd be good to hear what he has going forward. Okay, now moving to the next annual goal strategic plan. Assistant City Manager and City Planner, NJ Johnson, if you wanted to take it from here.
Not much on this one, just in the interest of time, kept mostly the same format, had some updates to objectives 1.1, 1.3, 2.2, and 3.1, in reflection of what was discussed at the retreat. And then just updated the pictures and summary of activities to reflect this year's retreat and goal setting process.
Very nice. No, it was nice. Last year, we kind of revamped everything with Ben's first goal session. And then this one, we just kind of fine tuned it, changed a few things. Did we feel that the last year's work, that staff seemed to understand it and feel that they had direction and so we kind of updated a few and added a few things. Appreciate it. And then for all those out there, when their council goals, they have a little more priority. They have money, you can put money behind them, you can have focus on them. Some things come up throughout the year, and if they're not in our goals, it's like we have a lot of other things that are more important because we've listed them. It's nice to have this. So if no more discussion, are we, is there anybody that motion to approve the annual goal strategic plan?
To approve our strategic plan.
Councilor Santiago motions to approve 2026 annual goal strategic plan. Any second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Councilor McKee, seconds. Any more discussion? Being none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I'm sure those things will come up throughout the year. Appreciate that. And then we added number 7. Still been nothing very, even what we've passed on now, we can move to the April 20th,
Yeah, it's not.
April 20 council meeting. Again, we're gonna have as many meetings as it takes to get the city business done in a good way, but we also don't wanna, it costs the city money when we do have meetings. We don't wanna waste people's time and money to have meetings just to have a meeting. So,
Yeah, the other consideration for April 16th was it was my wife's anniversary, so we wanted to make sure I could attend that. You might not have a city manager if I'm missing.
7th. Move it one day to April 7th
Stay married.
Yeah.
and have my
You don't want to
birthday.
have it here?
I thought about it.
Great.
I think we need an if I were city manager contest.
There
Molly
we-
can do it.
There we go.
Okay, so do I have a motion to cancel April 6th city council meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I move we cancel April 6th, city council meeting.
Council Hagen makes a motion to cancel our next, which is April 6th, 2026 council meeting. Any seconds?
Second.
Council President Miller seconds. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. See, I said aye. Calendar. We are now on, we look like we have a March 26th Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. April 6th meeting has been canceled as of now. April 16th EDC meeting at noon. Is that still on for April? Council work session, April 20th at 6 p.m., followed by the city council regular session at 7 p.m. and Earth Day, April 25th at Heritage Park. Is the park open for them on April 25th? All right, April 25th, great. We are now up to updates. City Manager Ben Bergener.
And no additional updates at this time, other than I just always appreciate our staff and everything they're doing and the council as well for all the time you put in for the retreat. And for all that you guys do as well. So
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. Chief Llewellyn.
Yes, good afternoon, evening, Mayor, councilors, those aligned, those also in attendance. First, thank you very much for coming. For those who do come public comment, it's great feedback for me too as well. Particularly in a word of abatement, just to refine our processes there too with difficult situations. So thank you for that, for your time. We came out here today. For the police department, just a couple things going on. I'd like to first pull your attention to the new statistical sheet for there, just to explain that a little bit. Going back, Councilor Marquis and Councilor Santiago asked some questions about the traffic stops recently. And I looked at the data and there was a transcription error that we had on our police department side that looked at a different column, which made it accurate for the last one. Way we usually go is from the CAD system to the email and send out the documentation. Using this though, however, just be for more transparency to show that our police department does more than just traffic stops too. What we do, you have your new documentation there, which shows over 90 categories of calls that officers do. So part of my squiggly lines on there, I did the best I can in PDF form to try to highlight those going forward too as well. Our department's going to be hiring a new employee on next Monday to bring the total if we're sworn up to 11 with the officers, and he'll be going to basic academy and here the following Monday on the 30th. I'm moving forward there too as well. And one of our sergeants, Sergeant Mackenzie Ford, she was awarded the DRE or Drug Recognition Expert for a whole entire state of Oregon for DUI impairment. And that's a very special position. We're very lucky to have her here too as well for that. So besides that, nothing else major. Unless there's any questions. Also thank our partners for CCOM for coming here and talking to as well, being transparency. Just work through these situations. So any questions?
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for all this information.
You're welcome.
Council Rep Tyler.
Hello. Don't really have anything. I think we're just waiting on Representative Edwards' office.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah. Now that we've canceled the next meeting, the next time I see you guys, I will be able to vote. So,
No, good, thanks.
yeah,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Great. Councilor Marquis.
Thank you. I just wanted to report briefly on the Scappoose Historical Society. I've met with their board and also joined the society and attended one of their meetings and I've been trying to get a feel for what's going on there and the relationship between the city and society. It was just mentioned that they were a recipient of CEP funds. They are in good financial shape. They probably don't need CEP funds. They do need more volunteers. That's the vibe there. But they've got money in their checking account. They have some other sources of cash laying around. They have a CD that's worth like $17,000 that matures sometime soon. They also last month received a donation of $8,000 from the Kathy Fox family, and they have this family has committed to giving annually that amount. And then they also got $100 from the last living Watts, Bob Watts in Idaho. So the Watts family is still thinking about us.
Great.
But anyway, it's been cool. Whoville was a big winner for them monetarily. They netted over $9,000, and a lot of that was through sponsor money. And then I did a little bit of research to look at visitation. It looks like Whoville, for at least 3 weeks when it first started opening up, almost tripled the amount of visitors to the library area. So not necessarily from out of the area. It's probably mostly Columbia County and surrounding. Anyway, so that's just a little update on what was going on with the Historical Society. Oh, one other thing, there's a talk on Thursday at the Red Barn about the history of the airport.
Well, thank you. Councilor Haugen.
Yeah, real quickly, some good news. It's nice to get good news once in a while. The school district for the 26-27 biennium is not going to, at this point, is not going to be cut for state funding. So that's a real positive. I was kind of grimacing when I started that conversation, but that was really good. And then with working with Susan, we're going to start the Rotary Rotary acknowledgement of Student of the Month in September. So for a full calendar year, we ironed out the wrinkles, so that'll work pretty smoothly. And then lastly, had several comments from the all-town meeting, and very favorable. I'm not sure Bill was involved in that, but they were very favorable. And in fact, they were really impressed with Mayor Joe and NJ in their presentation. So we must be doing something right. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, NJ, I heard a lot of people on the budget. They were very impressed and it helped. So I think we got to continue to get that information out, where our money comes from and where it goes. I appreciate that. Councilor Holmes.
Nothing from me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Santiago.
A couple of things. First, I want to thank the participants of the mayor contest. That was really sweet, trying to read their if I was the mayor. So I hope we get more participation every year. Thank you to Mr. Heights for coming and being transparent. It's good to get that. For me, I'm not just being first meet him and hear that information. That was helpful. what I wanted to bring up a couple of things, and I kind of did this offline, but now I want to officially start the conversation on a couple of things that I know. One, it'd be we're up for reelection every 2 years for you, Mayor, and that would be great. I know that's something that goes on the ballot for 4 years. So I would love to see that just like the council members, the mayor also gets every 4 years.
Mayor's every 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that makes sense, but it is what it is. So if we can get that in the ballot, that would be great. But also wanted to bring up the conversation to raise the topic of approaching the city begins preparing for the budget cycle. So this might be a good time to look at compensation and for the mayor particularly and maybe council. So many cities periodically review this, and the role of mayor and council has evolved over time. Today involves reviewing council materials, attending meetings, participating in regional discussions, training, engaging with community. Another reality is that most council members and mayors serve while they're also working a full-time job. Balancing those responsibilities can be challenging, particularly for residents who want to serve in the future. So hopefully, not that this big amount of money, because this is just a volunteer job, but hope encourages more people to do run for office. My intent is not to propose an immediate change, rather to suggest that we review benchmarking information from comparable Oregon cities. I have, let's see, so I gave you all kind of a models of what similar size of cities to Scappoose, of what they're doing, anywhere benchmark from 5 to 10,000 population. Of course, the majority is, as you can see, we're 8,400. We're volunteer for mayor and council. Cornelius, 12,000. They have $50 per meeting stipend for mayors and council members. And there's a cap at monthly cap. Olalla, 10,000, small stipend. Cottage Grove. And so average turns out mayor maybe 200, 800 a month, but $50 for council, meeting alternatives. So this is I just wanted to start that conversation. And so that's why I kind of just took some statistics that are local, if you guys were interested, like what other cities are doing. And more happy to if you guys have any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to listen to you guys if you guys were interested. I would not accept anything until I was done running because I ran on my current, schedule. So I would never take anything, but I'd listen to you guys going forward if that was something people wanted to talk about at a later time.
Yeah, and then also, I just want to bring awareness to March being National Women's History Month, Development Disability Month, and also Red Cross. Please donate blood, platelets. And I know we have a blood truck that comes here in Scappoose, so please do so. And please be careful. It's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Is it tomorrow?
Mhm.
Please, don't drink and drive. So.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Help me remember it's my
Wear green.
daughter-in-law's birthday. Thank you.
Birthday.
Council President Miller.
I'll just make it quick. I just want to make another comment about the 901 presentation and being on the board. Again, I voted no on the levy because I see a very dysfunctional agency and a very dysfunctional board on the inside, and I can't even get questions answered that I have. It is absolutely nothing like the city of Scappoose, where we have a responsive professional staff. And I absolutely love being on this council with all of you. And I feel that we're a very highly functional council. And for that, thank you to all of you. You're very respectful, very professional, and you do your homework, and we have very good conversations. But it is the opposite, the 901 district. And so until things change, and I do think that it does need to be reformed and go under the county or city to save taxpayers money. I just will not be supporting the levy personally. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to have that urban renewal agency work session maybe later in the year. Congratulations to the high school basketball team, 4th place in state. We lost the first game, which they were hoping not to, and then 1-1. So the next 2. So congratulations to my son and his team. Great season. I did receive an application for the budget committee. If you would please kind of look at it, if you are interested in interviewing her, I'd recommend maybe we bring her into a next meeting. Instead of me just assigning it and putting it on agenda, I'd like you guys to look at it. Don't reply all or send it to all of us, but just Joel had given me some feedback. If anybody else has any, let me know how to proceed on that one. And I'm going to kind of dedicate the last minutes, since we never got to the nuisance abatement bills issues. Is there anything here that we wanted to address? Since you stayed for the meeting, thought we'd talk about it more, but we just kind of ran out of time. We'll bring it up, but we did receive your emails. Chief responded to a degree. Answered most everything, I think, if I remember right. I apologize. I drive by and I see something. I'm like, wow, that's a lot different, better than it was. But I only drive by there once every 6 months or 5 months and don't realize that's still not good.
Yeah.
So it helps to kind of get out and see those things over and over. So thanks for bringing it to our attention. It is an issue. As we're talking about raising fees and funds, now that we still have a part-time code enforcement officer, as we have more, and our officers are almost fully staffed. We have more time, more ability to look at different things. So hopefully we'll be able to address that going forward and give him some direction. I know it's not our responsibility to run the police department. That's why we hired a city manager. But if there's things that we talk about all the time that are important to us, and then we give them to our city manager, because we hear what the community is having to say, and so hopefully we can work together as a team and move in the right direction.
Are you looking for dialogue on this, or are you just?
Not really. If anybody had any input, I know we talked about talking about it, we didn't, so I just wanted to.
I guess I do have something to say. So I read Mr. Etter's email, and you guys know where I live, just past you, so I drive by all the time. I didn't know. I thought that with the grass being mowed and everything, I thought that things were in a lot better shape. So I'm very sorry to hear that they're not. I guess, if there's something that we can do that we're not doing as a city, I would ask that we please do that. And if we're not, why? But in reading the response from you, Chief, I got the impression that we are doing everything that we can legally within our authority. If there's something else we can do or some sort of steps that the council can take to help you or help the city have more teeth with enforcement, please let us know. But I sympathize, because I wouldn't want to live next to that either. And at the same time, I hear you saying we're doing everything we can with the tools and the parameters that we have. So where do we go from here? Is there anything that the dais here can help you with?
I can answer that real quick. So first of all, they dealt with that for a while before my take. And when it comes down to it, I think for us in our processes, we need to get better communication, and also where we layer at too as well. As I spoke in my email, there are a lot of situations that are taken care of just by talking. These are situations that, not here particularly, but hoarders or something where there's no further progress, how we go from there. And that's something that we're working on right now to refine that. So it has taken a long time. I don't live next to them. They've been very cordial with me the whole time too as well, and other people. But it's something here that I'm focusing on, and look at my own process, how to better at that too as well, for communication. And also working with our partners too with Columbia County, and really just prioritize what are we responsible for as a city and what is the county responsible for inside a dwelling, because I'm not an electrician and I have no idea how to find an electrician. So those are some things we're going to be working on, and I'm looking forward to seeing some progress here. And I'll be taking more in-depth look at my own department and make sure that's done.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Can I make an ask of you? Can you think about this whole situation a little bit further, just about in terms of if there is anything that we could potentially help you with, whether it be passing a temporary, whatever. And then the other thing that I'm wondering too is that, some cities, not just in Oregon or in our area, but probably more so elsewhere, they have a lot of residents who own they have a lot of properties that are owned by out-of-state residents
Yeah.
too. And then if it's an investment property like this, their care for it probably dwindles even more, I imagine. I'm wondering if other cities that have that huge population of properties that are owned by out-of-state
Owner. agent.
yeah, right. And
Correct.
especially the investor situation, if they have came up with something creative to deal with these situations.
HOA.
We can't be the only ones that are experiencing this, and we are probably very small population of that situation. So I'm just thinking there probably has to be something out there that another city has potentially thought of
Right.
in dealing with these sort of situations.
And I'll look at that, Council President. I will say too, the community in Scappoose takes a lot of pride in our community, particularly, and me driving through Portland, not saying anything about the city, but I'm really proud that our community do take these things considerate for livability here. So I'll look at that too as well. I'll talk to the city manager and we'll continue to work on this too as well. So, but loud and clear, I definitely appreciate everybody's feedback, and we're not perfect, and I'm going to refine our process and work on our get it to do it better.
What I would say as follow-up is with code enforcement, this is also not a unique community where residents and the community in general will have frustrations around code enforcement and the lack of resources or ability to maybe follow up as like an HOA would. So some of it falls into priority, staffing, resources, but there is also the disconnect or the miscommunication or understanding that residents typically have of how due process works. And there are a lot of laws, federally, state, and our own municipal code that set up a process and that we have to give to residents, especially when we're stepping onto their property and could be looked as a taking or other things that are involved in their property, and just the rationale that police can have to even enter property. So there is notifications. It takes time. So part of that, as we go through that opportunity as the chief, he just restarted the code enforcement program last year, and it's a part-time enforcement officer. As we are working towards improving that, as we get more resources or better improve our process and look at our municipal code, the way the council can help when we get to that point is when we come to recommendations, obviously, with how our code is done. If there's any way we can speed up that process to consider if that is really the best interest of the community or not, or the due process side. I mean, I've had, when I was in Stanfield, we had a property that took over a year from the beginning of the process to the end, from notification before we could even abate them, just because of how a lot of the laws are set up for some of those, as well as the involvement of the council or the community or our courts. I mean, there's a long process beyond just saying, hey, you're violating our code, you need to fix it, we're going to fine you and fix this tomorrow. Like it doesn't go that quick. It does take quite a long process. And then you get these repeat offenders where, yeah, they fix it once and we have to go through the whole process again when they repeat offend. And we can't just say, oh, you're a repeat, you have to escalate this because it's a new situation. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I'm not speaking to this one specifically, just in general, code enforcement. It is an interesting and complicated process that involves a lot of processes, unfortunately. So we are looking through how we can streamline those and improve those. As Chief had mentioned, our process is obviously not perfect. We might be able to find some other best practices from other communities that we can maybe implement, but that's just part of us improving that program as he's getting it, growing it.
Yeah, and the editors, I sympathize with you because I've lived in that neighborhood for almost 50 years. And so I've marveled at that same issue over the decades. And, it's, as the city manager noted, it's a challenge. The neighbors have complained, so we'll one of these days, maybe I'll walk over and see if we can put some neighborhood pressure on them or whatever. But we all appreciate you being here. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. My comments are done. We are going to move into executive session. I will entertain a motion now to go past 9 o'clock if we need to.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that council extend past 9 o'clock if need to.
Council President makes a motion to go past 9 o'clock if we need to. In seconds.
Second.
That's second by Councilor Haugen. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Kim, you got your go out whenever you can, but let me get into this executive session. The city of Scappoose will now meet executive session for the purpose of ORS 192.660-2I and 2E. 2E is real estate property and 2I is evaluation. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. Don't expect any decisions or votes to be made after in the open session, but we'll open it up. So Kim, we'll get you another invite to executive session and you can hang in as long as you can. We'll let you go first if there's anything. A meeting adjourned.